The Young and the Restless spoilers next 2-week update. Full September 2nd to 13, 2024. Chance's dilemma. Call from Jill. Chancellor sat in his office, the weight of the situation at Chancellor Industries pressing heavily on his shoulders. The message from Jill had come through earlier that day, a simple request for an update on the company's status and the challenges Billy was facing. But the implications of that request were anything but simple. Jill Abbott had always been a formidable presence, force to be reckoned with in the business world. Her ability to command respect and instill fear in her opponents was legendary, and Chance knew that her return could shift the balance of power at Chancellor. But as he read over her message again, he felt a pang of guilt. Billy was struggling, there was no doubt about that. The pressures of leading Chancellor Industries, combined with the personal demons he was battling, had left him vulnerable. Chance wanted to help, but he felt helpless, caught in the crossfire of corporate warfare and personal vendettas. He knew that the only way to truly protect Billy was to bring Jill back. Her presence alone would be enough to make Billy's opponents think twice before crossing him. They might be willing to undermine Billy in her absence, but with Jill in the picture, they would be far more cautious, knowing that the consequences of their actions could be severe. Chance weighed his options carefully. He was still in Jill's employ, and his loyalty to her had never wavered. If anyone could turn the tide in Billy's favor, it was Jill. But bringing her back from London was no small task, and he knew that her return would signal a major shift in the ongoing power struggle. Chancellor. With a heavy heart, Chance made his decision. He would go to London, bring Jill back, and hope that her presence would be enough to save Billy from the forces that sought to destroy him. It was the only way he could see to protect his friend and the company they both cared about. Sharon's descent. Dark influence of Cameron. While Chance was making plans to bring Jill back to Genoa City, far more sinister drama was unfolding in the mind of Sharon Newman. Cameron, the invisible tormentor who had taken hold of her thoughts, was relentless in his pursuit of destruction. He whispered dark thoughts into her ear, filling her mind with fear, paranoia, and rage. Cameron's influence over Sharon had grown stronger with each passing day, warping her perceptions of reality. He convinced her that Phyllis and Lucy were conspiring against her, plotting to harm her and her children. Every positive thought Sharon managed to muster was quickly drowned out by Cameron's insidious voice, which always found a way to twist her mind back to darkness. "You have to protect your family, Sharon," Cameron would hiss, voice echoing in her mind. "Phyllis and Lucy are a threat. They'll destroy everything you care about if you don't act first." Sharon tried to resist, tried to remind herself that these thoughts weren't her own, that they were the product of a twisted mind playing tricks on her. But the line between reality and delusion was becoming increasingly blurred, and Sharon found it harder and harder to separate the two. Pressure was becoming unbearable. Sharon knew that something was wrong with her, that she wasn't thinking clearly, but she couldn't break free from Cameron's grip. His presence was always there, lurking in the shadows, ready to strike whenever she showed signs of resistance. Phyllis's resolve. A race against time. Phyllis Summers had sensed that something was off with Sharon for a while now. The once vibrant and strong-willed woman had become erratic, her behavior increasingly unpredictable. Phyllis wasn't one to ignore her instinct, and they were screaming at her that something was seriously wrong. When she learned about the influence Cameron had over Sharon, everything started to make sense. Phyllis knew that she had to act quickly, not just to protect herself and Lucy, but to save Sharon from the darkness that was consuming her. Phyllis had always been a fighter, someone who refused to back down in the face of danger. But this situation was unlike anything she had ever faced before. Sharon was no longer in control of her own actions, and that made her unpredictable and dangerous. Phyllis knew that the only way to stop Sharon was to confront her head-on, force her to see the truth and break free from Cameron's hold. But she also knew that this was a delicate situation, one that could easily spiral out of control, handled poorly. Sharon's mental state was fragile, and pushing her too hard could have devastating consequences. But Phyllis didn't have the luxury of time. The longer she waited, the more dangerous Sharon became, both to herself and to everyone around her. Confrontation, a battle for Sharon's soul. The final confrontation between Phyllis and Sharon was inevitable. Phyllis had prepared herself for the worst, knowing that she might have to fight not just for her own life, but for Sharon's sanity as well. When the two women finally came face to face, the tension was palpable. Sharon's eyes were wild, her movements erratic as she tried to make sense of the chaos in her mind. Cameron's voice was there, urging her to strike, to end the threat that Phyllis and Lucy posed. Phyllis was ready. She had spent days preparing for this moment, steeling herself for whatever might come. She knew that she had to stay calm, to not let Sharon's erratic behavior push her into making a mistake. "Sharon, listen to me," Phyllis said, her voice steady but firm. "This isn't you. Whatever Cameron is telling you, it's not true. You're stronger than this. You have to fight back." Sharon shook her head, her hands trembling as she clutched at her hair, trying to block out the voice that had taken over her thoughts. "You don't understand, Phyllis," she whispered, her voice filled with despair. "He won't let me go. He says you're going to hurt my family." "Cameron isn't real, Sharon," Phyllis insisted, taking a cautious step closer. "He's just a figment of your imagination, a manifestation of your fears. You have to take control or he's going to destroy you." For a moment it seemed like Phyllis was getting through to her. Sharon's expression softened, flicker of recognition in her eyes as she struggled to regain control of her mind. But then, just as quickly, the fear returned, and Sharon's demeanor shifted once more. "No!" Sharon screamed, backing away. "I have to protect my children." "You're lying, Phyllis. You're trying to trick me." Phyllis realized that words alone weren't going to be enough. She had to take more drastic measures. Moving quickly, she reached out and grabbed Sharon's hands, forcing her to look directly into her eyes. "Sharon, you're stronger than this," Phyllis said, her voice intense but filled with compassion. "You have to trust me. You're not alone. We can help you, but you have to fight back." Sharon's resistance began to waver, the internal battle evident on her face. Phyllis held her breath, praying that Sharon would find the strength to break free from Cameron's grip. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Sharon's shoulders slumped, and she let out a shuddering breath. I don't know how," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. Phyllis pulled Sharon into a tight embrace, holding her as she wept. "We'll figure it out together," Phyllis promised. "First, we need to get you the help you need." The aftermath, a path to healing. After the confrontation, it was clear that Sharon needed immediate psychiatric help. Phyllis, true to her word, made sure that Sharon was taken to a psychiatric facility where she could receive the treatment she so desperately needed. The road to recovery would be long and difficult, but for the first time in weeks, Sharon was free from Cameron's influence. It wouldn't be easy to rebuild her life, but with the support of her friends and family, there was hope that Sharon could find her way back to the light. As for Phyllis, the experience had left her shaken but resolute. She knew that she had done the right thing, even if it had meant putting herself in danger. Sharon was worth saving, and Phyllis was determined to see her friend, the darkest chapter of her life. Meanwhile, Chance prepared to leave for London, knowing that his mission to bring Jill back could be the key to saving Billy and Chancellor Industries. Battles in Genoa City were far from over, but with Jill's return, there was hope that the tides would turn in their favor. In the midst of all the chaos and conflict, one thing was certain: the people of Genoa City would continue to fight for what they believed in, no matter the cost. And as they faced the challenges ahead, they knew that they could rely on each other to see them through the storm.